Hi students, Kate Lawson here. I'm your instructor for criminology. Welcome, welcome. So excited to have you. Today's video is just going to go over a few of the important points for the course, but also just to introduce myself and get you kind of set up. So first thing, welcome. So you have signed up for criminology, and I'm very excited to have you, especially since this is something that I love, and I've been studying for close to 15 years, since I was probably the same age as many of you. So we are a sociology-based course, and so it's going to be a little bit different than crim justice courses if you've taken those in the past, because criminology looks at creates a theoretical understanding for crime. So we're going to be looking at various explanations or theories for crime, which I'm sure you've already considered in your own life. For instance, hey, this crime was caused because, or happened because maybe someone didn't have the financial resources. And so we might, an explanation for this type of crime might be poverty. But when we look at white collar crime or crime done by the powerful, obviously these people aren't living in poverty. So we might look at something like greed or workplace culture, right? Maybe this is something you wouldn't normally do in your own life, but maybe there's such a push within the culture, like to make money at any cost, that now you're just, you have done something you wouldn't normally do. So what you're going to come to understand is that crime is, multi-causal. There are so many various social forces that can come to influence it. And I think the pandemic has really given us some insight into getting a sense of, how kind of the underlying kind of social condition can influence crime rates. So for instance, maybe people feel very uneasy about their financial situation because of COVID, or we know that hate crime has gone up. We know that there's a lot of social unrest going on, and we have seen a spike in violent crime. So overall, and through most of my lectures, you're going to hear, wow, we're doing so great. 30 years, right? And I still want to say this is still pretty great. 30 years crime has been going down, but guess what just happened? We're seeing it go up. And so, that's something to consider as we look at the pandemic and what it's done to people, right? We know that there's been financial insecurity, social unrest, anxiety and depression. Like, none of this stuff is good for crime rates. And, I'll always push to you that when I talked about mental illness, depression, anxiety, we know, for instance, we have a lot of people living in their homes close to their families without having that release to go out and experience the world or whatever. We know domestic violence has gone up. And so, hasn't been, in terms of crime, hasn't been great for a lot of folks during COVID. And we understand that when our norms become unpredictable, we know that it leads to what's known as anomie, or a sense of normlessness, unrest, which leads to an increase in crime. Not everyone will respond that way, but that will be one of the theories that we'll be looking at. And so what you'll find is that, it's a good time to be taking criminology and getting this understanding. Crime is very much multi-causal. And so, as I mentioned, I've been studying this for a long time, and I really have tried to, there's so many layers to this social problem that we're going to explore. And even as I keep studying, the more I study sociology, the more I'm interested in the psychology of it, right? Is like, why does one person respond this way when the other person doesn't? So there's so many different kind of dimensions to explore, and we will be looking at, criminology is multidisciplinary. So we'll be looking at, one chapter will look at psychology, one chapter will look at biological explanations, which are really interesting. And what you're going to find is, all of these different theories, think of it as a big puzzle. Each kind of overarching, we'll look at sociology, we'll look at psychology. Think of all of these as puzzle pieces kind of fitting into the larger picture, right? So all psychological explanations don't, create an understanding for all crime, but each of these kind of puzzle pieces will give us the bigger picture. And that's what I want you to get at. So, what else? I just wanted to share a little bit about my background. So I have my master's in sociology, and my emphasis has always been in crime and deviance. When I was a student, I worked out of the University of Chicago on a research project that was in response to what was known as PREA, or the Prison Rape Elimination Act. And what I got to do was I got to interview newly released people on their sexual assault in prison, which I'm sure you can find was pretty interesting. Some people would not be into this. Me, I am. I don't know. Weird. But really, really interesting in that, again, what we found was that, prison rape wasn't always like you would assume you see in the movies like Shawshank Redemption. It's actually, there's a lot more, there are a lot more complexities involved in gray area. So oftentimes people will kind of submit to one person who is bigger as a form of protection. But this is still considered coerced sex, and it's still considered assault at that point, because, if you're doing this out of protection, you're not, your basic needs are not being made or created. And so, we came to find that there were a lot of different layers to this, and it wasn't always as black and white as what I think people in, watching the media get in terms of how this stuff happens. So I like to just share that with you, just to give you some sense of what you might do as a sociologist in the realm of crime and deviance, because many people will go into research. But of course, I ended up teaching, which I'm really glad I did, because I've always really loved being in the classroom. Being online is a little bit different, obviously, but I don't know. I kind of like my online class. I think it's kind of cool. It's different if you've taken me in person, and I do really miss that interaction. It's just, you just don't get in the online thing. But I hope you enjoy. I've really worked on trying to make it a great course, and I hope you like it. So once you're in Canvas, I want you to go into your syllabus. Make sure you print that up. It's really the blueprint for the course. So make sure you read it carefully. You also want to make sure you have the text. I have posted the first chapter on Canvas of the book in case you're still waiting on getting it. But overall, you should be able to see, when you get onto Canvas, you should be able to see kind of the breakdown of the course. It's set up in modules. Each week, you can expect an announcement from me on Canvas outlining your responsibilities for that week. But generally, what you're going to have to do is read your chapter from the book, listen to the audio lecture, take a short quiz, a 10-question quiz, and submit an assignment for that week, right? So that's kind of what you're going to be doing. The course is not synchronous, meaning I'm not expecting you to come meet me at a certain time. The only time that, I will be available synchronously will be for office hours, which I will send you a Zoom link. Just so you know, I use the same Zoom link for everything. So if I'm like, meet me in Zoom, you'll have that information. You'll know which one it is. So I don't change up the Zoom link. I don't see a reason why we need to. I will have office hours every Thursday, usually around 11 or noon. Sometimes it changes depending if I have a meeting pop up, but I like to usually do it around 10 to 11. Now, if that doesn't work for you, it's not that I don't care. Just feel free to, email me, set up an appointment, and we'll figure out a time that does work for you, right? Generally, I am available Monday through Friday. I'm sitting in front of my computer for most of the day. If you shoot me an email, likely you will hear back from me very quickly. I do not work on Saturdays or Sundays, so that means that, you should look through your assignments early so that if you do have questions, I can answer them on time, because I won't be getting online Saturday or Sunday. So, I would just recommend at this point you kind of peruse through the assignments, get a sense of what you're going to be doing. I do offer you a free pass. And so, it's important that you guys stay self-motivated throughout the course. That's one thing with online courses. It can be hard, right? It's really on you to, just like I get up, I sit in front of the computer. This is my job. Right. And that would be my kind of recommendation for you. Just plan on sitting here in front of your desk or wherever you do your thing for a certain amount of hours a day. If you finish early, work on stuff to get ahead so that you can really make this work. And I think that's really important. But also make sure you're taking care of your mental health. Go outside on walks. I know I take little breaks here and there because it can be really hard sitting for so long. My legs start to fall asleep and barely walk when I get home. So, and again, reach out if you have any questions or concerns. I really want you to feel like I'm here for you. Lastly, I just want to note there is plagiarism software on Canvas called Turnitin. What this does is it compares your paper to all the papers online, as well as previously submitted assignments, not just for Green River, but for all the colleges who use Turnitin. So, there is a zero tolerance policy for plagiarism. Please, please, please do not plagiarize. It's not something I like to deal with. I'm sure that's not something you like to deal with. I always tell my students, I know it's hard sometimes if you don't feel prepared or you don't feel like maybe your writing isn't on par or something like that, but that's how you build this skill. And I promise you that you work on, even in my course, I promise you your writing will improve. And so it's just a matter of getting there. But I don't want you, I don't want students to plagiarize and then transfer and then like get kicked out of UW because they don't know how to write a paper because they plagiarize. At some point it's going to catch up with you. So I'd rather it now than later. And I know that sounds really shitty, but anyways, let's just not do that. I'd really rather not do that. So anyways, sounds kind of awful, right? Again, welcome to the course. So happy to have you. Please reach out if there's anything I can do to help. I'm really looking forward to this quarter with you. Best to you. Take care.